Okay, well, good afternoon to everyone joining us from the East Coast, and good morning to those of you joining us from the West Coast. Welcome to today's NACo webinar. My name is Kyle Klein, and I serve as the program director for the 3+1 program and also director for financial partnerships at NACo for the Financial Services Corporation. So glad to have you join us today for the webinar, and I'll serve as your host and moderator. You know, as many of you are aware on the call, the mission of NACo is to simply strengthen America's counties. And there are different ways that we achieve that mission and that purpose for all of us. And one of those ways is through value-added, revenue-generating, or cost-saving programs. And the charge for the Financial Services Corporation, which is the department that I belong to, that is exactly our contribution, our mission for contributing to strengthening America's counties. And so today you're going to hear about one of those programs that we have identified with our partners at 3+1 as offering a significant value add in the liquidity data space and cash management space to bring new revenue to your counties, to drive savings, to find operational efficiencies, and a number of other benefits. So really just glad that you've joined us. The topic today is a commissioner's point of view. So you'll be hearing from a commissioner's point of view on the power of liquidity data for your county. And before I introduce a little bit more about the topic and the speakers, just want to do a little bit of housekeeping here. We want this session to be interactive and want you to be engaged. So if you have any questions at all at any point during the presentation, we just simply encourage you to go down to the chat box at the bottom of your screen or the Q&A function and enter your questions, or if you have comments that you would like the speakers to address, we encourage your participation on that front as well. Also, at the end of the session, we'll be providing contact information and ways to be in touch, so that if you want to learn more about the 3+1 program and or want to learn specifically from our speakers how they've implemented this program to their taxpayers' benefit, we welcome you to be in touch. So as I mentioned, today we're going to hear a commissioner's perspective on liquidity data and how Douglas County, Nebraska is the county that we're highlighting, has used data to have more confidence to make informed decisions on their cash that has provided new resources back to the county. In Douglas County's case, this is a collaboration between the Treasurer's Office and the board that has allowed the county to further maximize the value of its cash for taxpayers. And Douglas County has been innovative in liquidity management for many, many years. And with the continued commitment to that, bringing on 3+1, that has brought additional impact of over $10 million to the county taxpayers. So this is a large thanks to Treasurer Ewing, just a special shout out to the Treasurer's Office there at Douglas County for all the great work and innovation there. So thank you for being here. And then I'll just go ahead and introduce the speakers, and then we'll kick things off. So first of all, just want to introduce Garrett McDonald. He is the Vice President of 3+1, and he works with us very closely all across the country, working with counties to bring this cash vest liquidity solution and bringing those benefits to the county. So thank you very much, Garrett, for being here. Also, our next speaker really goes without an introduction. I think we all know her, but Commissioner Marian Borgeson from Douglas County, Nebraska, NACo past president. We're just thrilled to have Commissioner Borgeson on the call to share about her county and how they've implemented this solution. So just a quick little bio about Commissioner Borgeson, and then I will turn it over to Garrett. So Commissioner Borgeson was first elected to Douglas County Board of Commissioners in 1994, that is. She was reelected to her seventh term in 2018. In 1997, Commissioner Borgeson was actually the first woman elected to serve as chairwoman of the Douglas County Board and has served in this capacity for many years. As I mentioned, Commissioner Borgeson is a NACo past president, also chair of the NACo Health Policy and Cybersecurity Committees. She was vice chair of the Large Urban County Caucus, the Healthy Counties Board and Health Committee, and has served on numerous other NACo boards and committees. And we're just so grateful for her leadership and commitment to the support of NACo in our counties across the country. So without further ado, thank you all for being here. I think you'll find the presentation to be very helpful in understanding this solution, and hopefully we can work with your counties as well. So thank you very much. And Garrett, it's all yours.
Thank you, Kyle, and I appreciate it. As Kyle said, we're going to make this as much of a discussion and want it to be interactive. So please submit your questions for Commissioner Borgeson or for myself. We'd love to answer them, and we hope to get to all of them. But thank you again, Kyle. Thank you to NACo for the opportunity to just conduct this webinar and this discussion today. Commissioner Borgeson, thank you so much for being our guest. I actually had the opportunity twice to go to Omaha, and I'll tell you, one of the things about Nebraska that you realize is they have a slogan. I was told one time when I was in Omaha, I said, "Why is everyone so nice here?" And they said, "Well, haven't you ever heard of Nebraska nice?" And I said, "No, I haven't heard of that before." They said, "Well, it's actually a slogan here." And I can tell you, after meeting with Chairwoman Borgeson and with Treasurer John Ewing and all of their colleagues, it's entirely true. So really appreciate you being here today, Commissioner. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So liquidity is such an important topic. And just to set the groundwork of the three pillars of public finance, we always hear about safety, liquidity, and yield. And this is something that we talked a lot about in Douglas County's case. And again, I just can't give enough credit and appreciation to Douglas County's Treasurer John Ewing, who previous to working with CashFest had really been very innovative, working with the board to bring millions of dollars and increase revenue and savings through looking at safety, liquidity, and yield. And so often, and very importantly, counties look at safety, which is provided by state law, as the primary objective, and that is the primary objective. We have to make sure that we're continually safeguarding public taxpayer dollars, especially new funding coming from the federal government in the form of coronavirus relief funds and ARP funds. And liquidity is very important also, but it's not as exciting as yield. And yield gets a lot of attention, but it can be very difficult to find these days. And one thing that's great is the Federal Reserve has signaled that they're raising rates very precipitously. They've already done it one time. And so yield is going to be something that we all can look forward to receiving a lot more of. But the missing key so often between safety and between yield is liquidity. And really, it's the connection between safety and yield. And in Douglas County's case, they have a very strong financial resources, both internally and externally with their teams. And the CashFest platform has allowed Douglas County to leverage a specialty really that has brought new resources. Just some examples: over $89,000 in annual savings from bank enhancements brought forth through CashFest, resulting in over $444,000 over 5 years. Working with CashFest and with the county's bank, receiving an exception rate from sharing and collaborating with liquidity data and sharing benchmarks, which provided the county over $120,000 in a benefit in the first year alone. And this will exponentially increase as rates increase, but that was during a very low rate environment. And then, as we talked about earlier, Douglas County has earned millions of dollars over the years as they've collaborated with financial partners and working with registered investment advisors, but having the confidence through CashFest to put additional cash to be managed in fixed income really has brought a significant benefit that's equaled $34,000 in 1 year alone. And of course, that increases substantially as rates increase. So these are real benefits. And one of the ways that we measure those benefits is through the CashFest score. And it's looking at 5 different areas of elements that all culminate to having a higher CashFest score. And the higher your CashFest score is, the more you're saving and earning. And in Douglas County's case, over the last 12 months alone, they've generated $2.1 million in new revenue. And that's a new revenue line that's added to the county budget that doesn't have to be raised in taxes, and that can really be a new resource for county taxpayers. So looking at the percent of available funds providing value, liquidity proficiency, the effective rate that they're earning on all of their cash flow optimization, and their investment policy really adds to bringing new savings and new resources. And these are things that now can be brought right to the fingertips of all of their teams' computers through our new portal. But some of the discussion items, Commissioner, that we wanted to talk about today is how should commissioners in this case, because it's a commissioner's point of view, how should they coordinate and collaborate with their treasurers or chief financial officers for a positive outcomes? Because sometimes it can be tough.
Well, thank you, Garrett, for that question. And I first want to start off by thanking NACo and CashVest for this amazing partnership. As you said, I was past president of NACo, and we strive to bring programming to our counties that will benefit them in a variety of ways. And I can tell you that this, for one, has been an exceptional program for Douglas County. So I thank you all for that partnership. And I also do want to thank our treasurer for being open-minded and coming to the table to have this discussion about how we might better provide our services or invest our dollars. And as you said, I mean, our treasurer has done an amazing job over the years, but it's always good to have somebody else come in and take a look and maybe provide us some advice as to how we can do things a little better. And again, to gain those benefits that will help our taxpayers. And so the first thing really as a commissioner, it's just being able to convene everybody around the table and have that discussion about, one, what are we currently doing? Two, what could we be doing better? And three, here's a great partner. How do we partner with them to move forward?
Yeah, that's great advice. And sometimes from a liquidity data perspective, having that transparency and having that third-party advice can really add to better decision-making, Commissioner. And how has that impacted decision-making for you? And how do you see that as bringing new data and resources that can help you make more informed decisions or have more confidence?
Well, again, it's kind of the old, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so bringing that information to us, we're able to know what the dollars are that we have at hand and that we can get to quickly, but that we can also have dollars that we can invest properly in and smart in, again, for that great return on our investment. So having the information, having the data is knowledge. And CashVest provides amazing data once they look at all of the county's financial information to provide us with that data to make those decisions.
Absolutely. You said something in the beginning. You said open-mindedness, and I give you all a lot of credit in Douglas County for having that open-mindedness. But there are some listening today that might say, you know what, we don't have that in our county. How do you have a culture of open-mindedness, or how do you encourage a culture of open-mindedness?
Again, to me, it's just as simple as bringing people around the table. And once you again have data, sometimes that's what it takes for people's minds to open up. So if you can get that first step in where everybody sits around, says, yes, we're going to take a look at this, and then let the data drive your process, let the data drive your decisions, it becomes a lot easier, really. But it also becomes essential for the progress as we move forward. So again, it's communication that you have with each other as a board member, but also as in Douglas County, our row offices are elected. So it's another elected official. And there's that mutual respect for each other's positions, their offices, but then also mutual open-mindedness to take a look at how we can do things together.
Yeah, that's so well said. Sometimes when we're sharing some of this information, it's new and it looks different than other information that's been shared in the past. how do you really wrap your head around liquidity data? NACo is now saying liquidity data is a best practice for counties around the country. How has that really changed your perspective? And looking at that new data, what were your thoughts on it when you first saw it?
Well, actually, it was even before you came to Douglas County when they were giving a presentation at one of our meetings. And it was like, and I can't even remember what county it was, but it was like, wow, we need this in Douglas County. And we have not, had not talked about that liquidity. We had not talked about that three-step process of data to look at. But bringing that information again to the treasurer and staff and say, let's take a look at this, has kind of opened up a new conversation about what that liquidity really means. We have always been very concerned in Douglas County, both as a board and as a treasurer's office, that we make sure that we have, again, that cash on hand and cash available as fast as we need it. And again, we've never really talked about the other pieces of that liquidity puzzle, and that's what Cash Vest has brought to us.
Yeah, in Douglas County's case, you all really are a leader, not just in your state, but nationally. You've already had a lot of the pieces of the puzzle in place. You're working with outside registered investment professionals, always looking to maximize the value of your cash. That was something that was really evident from the get-go. And sometimes we work with counties that say, you know what, I think we have everything in place, and they might be a little apprehensive. And when you're considering this new resource, how should an apprehensive commissioner react to the opportunity of having liquidity data for her or his decision making?
I think we can say in Douglas County, we were even a little bit apprehensive at first because our treasurer had done such an amazing job. We had our system in place. But again, once you bring in someone, again, Cash Vest, to be able to look at that data and analyze it and give you a different perspective, it kind of speaks for itself. And it puts us again on that path where we can look at things that we hadn't looked at before. We can actually use you as a partner to have those conversations with the banking institutions that we hadn't had in the past. And so again, it's not only that open-mindedness, but let the data drive your decisions. Let that analysis that you do and the data that you bring as a commissioner and as a treasurer, let that data drive your decisions on how you continue.
What do you say to a commissioner that might be listening today that says, you know what, we think that our finance office should already be doing this? Or why aren't they doing this right now? And should we really be utilizing and investing in these new resources? What do you say to someone in that position?
Well, I can honestly say that at the end of this webinar, I hope that you're flooded with calls so that people are lining up for you to come in and take a look at their data to see whether or not they are doing those best practices, whether or not, if they are doing them, like in our case, how can we do things even better? It isn't whether or not somebody's doing a good, bad, or a bad job, or being slough on the job. It's how do we constantly look at, and as a commissioner, how do we constantly look at bringing a better bang for our buck when it comes to taxpayer dollars? And it behooves us, that's our fiduciary responsibility as a commissioner, to take a look at what those and who those partners are out there in the world that can help us be better at what we do.
Very well said. As leaders and policymakers, you and I were talking about this yesterday. You touched on it a little bit a moment ago. We have a fiduciary responsibility to utilize cash, especially in a post ARP funds era, where we have some new resources that we really want to make sure the taxpayers know that we're maximizing its value. In Douglas County's case, we can tell you as Cash Vest and as your liquidity data provider that really you are maximizing the use of all of your tax dollars. Some of the benefits of that are on your screen, and being able to see hundreds of thousands of dollars in benefits, even in just 1 year, but over many years, is really no small feat, Commissioner. It can bring a lot of new resources. Why is that important? Why is that important?
Because we as elected officials, our bosses are the taxpayers, and we are responsible for those tax dollars that are given to us to provide our services. And we always are looking at whether or not we are providing services in the most efficient, and where those cost savings are or could be. And again, it does go into how we are investing our dollars wisely. And so it behooves us as a commissioner to make sure that we are on top of that game, that we are in sync with our treasurer, in discussion with our treasurer and your chief financial officer and the staff, to make sure that what we are or aren't doing really is best for the taxpayer. It isn't about me as a commissioner. It's not about the treasurer. It's not about the staff. It's about what we're doing best for the taxpayers in which we represent and serve.
Yeah, wow, that's so great. We're just coming up on the half hour here, and I just want to remind all of our participants, if you have a question, if there's something that you would like to ask, please let us know. We'd be happy to answer that question for you. But on your screen now, we put this image up from Douglas County, and it's important to note that rates just went up 25 basis points. They were held at zero for many, many years in response to the COVID pandemic, but partly due to all of the steps in Douglas County that you've put in place to maximize the value on your cash. You all were able to earn 1.32% in a zero interest rate environment and identify additional funds that can be used to maximize the value on your cash. And we've heard a lot about inflation. Inflation is high. It's costing more at the gas pump. It's costing more in the grocery store. If you can earn money, Commissioner, you weren't expecting on cash, you can increase a revenue line in your budget.
That's exactly right. And, of course, we're all feeling the hurt, basically, with our inflation rate being at 8.5, 8.9% today. And so any additional revenue that we seek or find, again, to make our jobs easier for the taxpayers is a win-win for everybody. And it's not just we also run up against, legislative mandates that are unfunded that we have to find additional revenue for. In shifts that we get from our state government that now all of a sudden are counties' responsibilities, and where are we going to find the additional revenue? So every little bit that we can do to maximize, increase, and utilize those dollars is definitely a win-win and a benefit for all.
One of the questions that was submitted, Commissioner, was what was the process involved, and was it onerous, and was it time consuming? Because we just don't have the time to take away from what we're doing on a daily basis. And I'd love to get your perspective. I can talk a little bit more about the details of that, but your perspective on getting the program up and running.
So again, I think the first part of the program, again, was easy, bringing everybody around and learning about it, and then having that data analysis done. And it does take some staff time in order to do it. But again, in the end, you always have to look at what that return on your investment or benefit was in that additional time that staff does have to work. So you can expound a little bit on what that the length of the time, but again, it is a little bit more work for staff. But I truly believe, and again, our results, you see them in black and white, prove that was a good decision and a benefit.
Yeah, as we get the program up and running and we're collecting data and we have a process in place, one of our favorite sayings is baby steps. We really take baby steps and ensure that every county that we work with is comfortable, and we understand their process, and we understand the bandwidth that they have. And we ask the question, what type of cadence would you all like us to have with you? You know, we're an extension of your team. We
Right.
offer the technology that you can log in and you can see the data. And if you don't want to talk to us, you don't have to, but we're here for you. And we're asking how we can help you really as an extension of your team. And hiring a team of Treasury professionals is sometimes not always possible, Commissioner.
Right. And, you know, the other thing, you know, in terms of partnerships, it's, again, I just go back, it's always nice to have folks at the table that can have a new look at what you're doing. And again, I can tell you, not only the treasurer, but the treasurer staff, our staff in our financial office, they have done an amazing job.
Yes.
They really have. And you've pointed that out numerous times. But my motto's always been, we don't want to stop there. Where can we do better? Where could we do more? Where could we benefit more? And again, those partnerships, and again, the one we have with Cash Vest has proven it's not my word, it's not your word, it's the results that you see in black and white that we have been able to garner through this partnership. And those are measurable outcomes that you can take to the bank, so to speak. So it's, again, I just keep saying it, but it truly is a win-win for the taxpayers in the end. Yeah.
What would be your one piece of advice, Commissioner, for maybe someone on the webinar today saying, you know what, I'm not sure, I'm apprehensive, I don't know. What would be your one piece of advice when it comes to looking at cash, looking at liquidity, being in that commissioner seat and saying, how can I work through my finance office to really use data to help make more informed and confident decisions?
Well, first, ask the questions. And then secondly, again, let that data drive what you are doing. And if someone's apprehensive about even having that conversation, just take that baby step, if you will, of having Cash Vest come in and do the analysis for you and kind of set your path in motion as to where we should go from here. So again, your data is going to make your decisions. If you're apprehensive about it, let the data drive you. Let the experts who know how to do this provide you with the information for you to be able, as a commissioner, to make way better decisions than you had before.
I think that's great. And again, just want to remind, we have some questions coming in, but remind the audience today, if you have a question, please submit it. Also, Commissioner Borgeson, you were kind enough to say if there was someone on today that wanted to email you or ask you a question, they could reach out using the email on the screen now. And just reading one of the questions, what if the question is asked to me, why haven't I been doing this all along when I know I don't have the resources internally?
Well, again, I guess that's where the partnerships come in. If you don't have the resources internally, then bring a partner to the table that can help you get to where you need to be. Don't ever let don't let what you don't have stop you from looking at how you can do things better. Because again, there's partners out there that can help you do that. And our partnership that we've seen with Cash Vest again has enhanced what we've been able to do and enhanced what our staff has been able to do, which in turn enhances a commissioner's role, a commissioner's opportunity to make those good decisions.
Yeah, that's so well said. And this is really a new resource. These are things that haven't been available in the past. And
right.
We always like to remind everyone, this is your program. This program was created by public finance officials for public finance officials. Our CEO being a treasurer himself, and our co-founder and COO working at a school district as a board president, understanding that there needs to be new resources and programs that bring new resources. So I think we're uniquely positioned to understand some of those complexities. And we always like to say this is a program that it was created by public finance officials for public finance officials. And we really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much, Commissioner Borgeson, for being on today. We really appreciate your perspective, a commissioner's point of view. And Kyle, just wanted to see if there were any additional questions that you all had coming in.
Well, thank you so much, Commissioner, and thank you, Garrett. We do have one additional question here I just want to raise. Would a small county benefit from this type of data analysis?
Really great question. So the answer is absolutely. The principles of cash remain the same, whether you're a $10 million county or whether you're a $10 billion county. Sure, the numbers may be a little bit smaller, but there's nothing more great to see than if you can bring another $100,000 to a $10 billion budget. Sometimes that means more than bringing, $1 million to a $10 billion budget. And so the answer is absolutely. The principles of cash remain the same no matter how large you are. And in a rising interest rate environment, just to remind the audience, many market participants today believe that we're going to see a 2.5% Fed funds rate at the end of the year. Now, in times when interest rates are low, that provides a great opportunity to reduce borrowing costs for governments, which has a big impact for those who borrow a lot. But for entities that have large cash resources, and our data shows that most counties and public entities around the country have more cash on deposit than they've had in a very long time. Utilizing data to maximize the value on that cash is going to be vital, especially because ARP funds, you're allowed to keep the interest that you earn off of those funds to go towards your budget. And so every little piece helps make a big impact.
Thanks, Garrett. Next question we have, does the cash vest analysis, does it anticipate events such as the lack of state budget? So for example, the context behind this question, New York was operating for a few weeks without a budget, a state budget, and the grant reimbursements to counties were delayed or halted during this time. Is there any way, as you're looking at the forward forecast or, analyzing the data, is there any way to account for that?
Yeah, the truth is there's always going to be anomalies that are very hard to predict. And at 3+1, we do use some early stage artificial intelligence to try and predict future impacts of cash in a worst case scenario. An example of that was nobody anticipated a global pandemic that arguably was the greatest disruption to public finance ever. And we have a forward forecasting model that predicts cash balances by week. So each week it shows you exactly what cash you have with a high mathematical confidence. And so is it absolutely 100% going to predict everything that's going to happen into the future? Well, there's no program and no resource that does that. But what I can tell you, and actually Commissioner Borgeson can add in on this, the low forecast results overall compared to where our forecast showed moving forward was able to very accurately predict where cash positions were going to be because it looks at worst case scenarios. So in worst case scenarios, you're not going to, for example, maybe allocate more cash for investment than you would have if the state budget did pass and you did get grant reimbursements. But sometimes in the case of grant reimbursements too, they're a small piece of the pie. And so really using that data, aggregating all of it together and understanding if that didn't happen, where are we going to be? And if the money doesn't come in, what can we do still? And looking at the benchmarks and looking at your peers and understanding where are we compared to our peers and where are we compared to the benchmarks? As Commissioner Borgeson said, it's all about the data. And if you can have a third-party data perspective that can certify and give you that confidence, then that's only going to help with planning. Commissioner, anything that I left out there?
No, I think what you just said at the last I want to reiterate, and that is having someone come in again who's independent from everybody, come in and take a look at that with a fresh look, with new eyes, and again with a solid program that again has those measurable outcomes that we're all looking for. as commissioners, that's what you look for. You look for measurable outcomes of what you are either going to invest in or what you're going to start in a program or a service. And so this partnership, I can tell you, is one of those that, again, you take a look and you have the data that proves it.
A quick story, Kyle. Went to a county, their biggest revenue source was sales tax. And this was in March of 2020. And you can imagine what the ongoing estimates of sales tax were when they were completely shutting the world down. And this entity said, look, where are we going to be? And it was a tough conversation. And they brought everyone together and said, where are we going to be? Because it's looking like we could be in a place where we get no sales tax revenue in. In that scenario, we were able to allocate more funds for investment and help them predict where their future liquidity was going to be, that actually ended up very accurately telling them where their cash was going to be. It had a variance of less than 2% where their average cash balances were going to be. And that really helped them understand, how can we plan for worst case scenarios? How can we invest more of our cash to make a bigger impact for us? So all I would say is there's no hurt in exploring more and trying. I did see a question come through the chat that said, is the cost of the program offset by the gains in a small county? And the answer of that is typically yes. In this case, I don't exactly know how large that county is, but yes, when we're able to help be an extension of your team, we're really able to add resources. And a lot of times that's resources in dollars, could be 50,000, 100,000, 200,000. Some entities are earning tens of millions. Again, the principles of cash remain the same regardless of how large you are. But also, we're working with an entity in Alaska. And she said, it would be great if I had the time to do the analysis, but I don't. And if you can provide the analysis to me and substantiate why we're making the decisions that we're making, because in this case, her board was asking her questions about cash, understanding that, they had resources through ARP, et cetera. She said, I need an entity that's just looking at liquidity. And everyone can relate to going 100 miles an hour in 100 different directions. And we're going 100 miles an hour in one direction. And it's identifying how we can help you maximize the value on your cash. And as Commissioner Borgeson said, the results do speak for themselves. And we're really able to identify how we can add new resource and savings that make a big impact. Great questions. Commissioner Borgeson, I think it's a great point, though, justifying investments in looking at data and looking at resources can be tough. And when the questions are asked, why is this something that you're taking advantage of? Sure, you have to be able to answer those questions. But in this case, we were really able to generate significantly more in a benefit than the investment. And also looking at where rates are going, there's a one-to-one guarantee with the program. So if you're not able to at least save and earn what the investment will be, then you're not paying anything. And that can have a very large impact, Commissioner.
Yes, it could have a very, very big impact. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked there for a minute. Can you repeat the question?
One of the questions is, looking at the cost of investing in a program like this, there are tough questions that are asked to justify an investment. And the great position of CashFest is there's a one-to-one guarantee. So if the program's not saving or earning, at least what the investment is, you're not investing in anything. You're not expending any resources. And that has a large impact because there's nothing to lose.
That's bingo. You just said you have nothing to lose by having that analysis done and looking. Nothing. I mean, really, seriously, that if there's one takeaway from this today, it's really encouraging people to at least take that first step to pick up the phone or send the email that says, hey, you know what? I really want to take a look at this and see whether or not we are doing the best that we possibly can. Where should we be doing better? What more could we be doing? Where could we earn the bigger bang on our buck? And again, that doesn't hurt anything. And that's a huge takeaway from all of this conversation today, is to be one, open-minded, to communicate with your financial people, and then take that first step and see what would be the benefit for your county.
Yeah, thank you so much, Commissioner Borgeson. Kyle Klein, we'll pass it on to you to wrap us up today.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Garrett. Really appreciate your time and remarks today. And Commissioner Borgeson, we just are really grateful for the partnership and all that you do for NACo and your commitment to bringing innovative programs and services to your county in partnership with your treasurer's office and other key staff at the county. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here to share the story about those impressive results. And I'd just like to encourage all of the attendees. You see the contact information. Commissioner Borgeson has been gracious to offer if you'd like to reach out or have any of your colleagues reach out with questions about the CashVest program and what it might be able to do for your county. We encourage you to do so. And you also see Garrett's contact information. And with that, I just want to wrap up, I guess, and thank you all, and thank you for all that you do as well, each and every day, through hard times and good times alike. So we're grateful for everything and all that our members are doing. So have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.